Hello and welcome to Core Finance. I'm Matt Brown. I'm joined by David Buik, and today we're going to discuss Saudi Arabia or Saudi Aramco coming to the market. Now we're seeing Brent Crude at $64 a barrel. Question mark is, do the Saudis actually need to bring this stock to the market?
Well, there's a lot of issues going on here. One of the things, of course, is the anti-corruption drive. And you've got something like 38 government ministers or senior people, plus 11 princes, all holed up in a five-star hotel, possibly going to be charged with either money laundering or some sort of area. Clearly, Prince Salman means business. And this, of course, has triggered uncertainty in the region because whether we like it or not, we've not only got that, we've got the Saudi Arabia-Qatar spat, which is likely to carry on. And most important of all, people are beginning to wonder now whether Iran really is a serious challenge in the whole area. And we've seen oil price, as you say, jump up 3 to 5% during the course of 1 week or 2 weeks. And it's unlikely to come away. Whereas you could see now that there was problems with the Aramco, which is Saudi government-owned oil company, valuation, where people were saying, 2 trillion is too rich for my blood, and some people are saying, well, maybe it's near 1.5 trillion. Well, what is very interesting now is that we saw Trump throw his hat into the ring. Should I be more respectful and say President Trump threw his hat in the ring over the weekend saying he'd really like that business to come to the New York Stock Exchange? Not sure. Not because they're not capable of doing it, of course they are, but they're much more rigid in their regulation. And I'm not sure in the time frame allowed they would be in a position to get the New York Stock Exchange and the SEC and other regulators to change the rules. Over here, after a visit that saw Xavier Rolle from the London Stock Exchange, a company Prime Minister made to Saudi Arabia a few months ago, where he obviously made a very favourable impression, there's a very good chance that that deal will come, or part of it, to London, despite the fact that the rules appear to have been broken. And we seem to have had Andrew Bailey, who's the chief executive of the FCA, in a more malleable position as regards trying to accommodate, because we've only got 5% of the company coming on the market. Now, whether that's $100 billion or $150 billion or $200 billion, that is still a significant amount, which is what he says the size of the deal. But a more, how can I put it to you, illuminated individual friend of mine who knows this market extremely well has a much better theory, that he's heard that China is very interested in taking that 5% stake, which would make sense to me. And it would make an awful lot more sense that instead of having these arguments, differences, problems of going around the world saying who's going to take part of this, who's going to take part of that, the political ramifications with it, if the Aramco IPO were to take place in the Riyadh stock market and then just sell it off lock, stock and barrel to the Chinese authorities. It would suit them, it would suit Saudi Arabia, job done, they get the price that they want for it, and they'd also get a very influential shareholder. Because when you're only selling 5% of a company, if various people are just going to pick off bits, you've got no control over that if you're a major shareholder. Because you can't be, if you've only got 1% or 5% or whatever it is, it's meaningless. Whereas with China, it's got a really meaningful stake in it. Whether, of course, the Saudi government will do that, it depends how desperate they are for money.
Very interesting. If let's say, for argument's sake, the Chinese don't take the 5%, it floats in London, it's on the FTSE 100, are there question marks over whether there then becomes too much waiting for oil producers within the FTSE, and is that good for a FTSE 100 investor? We already have Royal Dutch Shell, we have BP. Is there room for Aramco in the FTSE?
I think there's room for Aramco in the FTSE. Also, I'd be very surprised if it was a singular listing. A lot of people saying, well, a lot of this stuff's going out of favour. I mean, there's talk now, of course, of Unilever going back to Amsterdam and leaving its footing in London as unnecessary. This is probably as a result of Brexit. This is a little bit different. I would think there would be 2 stock exchanges, whether it's Hong Kong, New York and London, Hong Kong and London, because of the time factor makes an awful lot of sense, in which case that's fine. But again, it still doesn't answer, for me, the most important thing, which is the shareholder register. Who have you got on there? How many people? Would they really want to take a piece of the action of that in an area where there is political unrest, where you've got no control because the Saudi government maintains control? These are questions that, of course, in the sales trip that go on round before D-Day will have to be answered.
Fantastic. David, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.